While the olim gets settled, just want to speak a quick pointer. Besides the topic of tonight, I don't know if a text went out, the topic is about the HAFTORAH of this week, something unique. But there's also something else unique for this year that never happens. For the next 9 weeks, we're not going to say Avarachim on Shabbos. Oh, yeah? The next 9 weeks. What's the next 9 weeks? This Shabbos is Shabbos Mevorchim. Right. Next Shabbos is Rosh Chodesh, Shkolim. Yeah. What's weiter? Let's help me out over here. What's weiter? The next week, Tetzaveh Zocher. Oh, so usually Dalet Parshas is a Shabbos Hafsaka that you do say. But this week, after Shabbos Zocher, Shushan Purim you don't say. Then goes Parah Chodesh. And then goes Nisan, the 3 weeks. Mevorchim HaChodesh Iyar you do say. So it's 9 weeks, just to sound 9 weeks in a row. Not to say Avarachim.
Some have many not to say Mevorchim
of Iyar? But yeah, so come to Chayes, then it'll be 10 weeks. Azoi the Thursday night Chaburah is on Chumash, but we're learning Hilchas Kriyas HaTorah, so the HAFTORAH, Veis Melech is part of it. I want to focus tonight on the HAFTORAH. The HAFTORAH of this week's Parsha is not a common HAFTORAH. Most of the years we do not learn this HAFTORAH. The next time we're going to learn this HAFTORAH, PARSHAS MISHPATIM, is going to be in 10 years. Why is it like that? Why is it not common? A regular year, a Shana Pshuta, it's almost always, besides Taka this year, it's always Shkolim. So Mamela Shkolim, you read Shkolim, it overrides a Parshas HaShavua. On a Shana Mu'beres, for most of the times, it's not always, for most of the times it's weiter, either Rosh Chodesh or it's Erev Rosh Chodesh, and Mamela Yilei Mocher Chodesh. So Mamela, for most of the times, this HAFTORAH, you don't learn. We'll speak a little bit, a nakuda, a halacha, and then also a dvar agad on the HAFTORAH of this week. The HAFTORAH is HAFTORAH from Yirmiyah, Perek Lamed Daled. Very interesting. After the end of the Perek, these two psukim at the end, from Perek Lamed Gimel. Why? Zokt Avud Raham. The reason why we end off with these two psukim, because it's a din, that you have to Messiah in Bedover Toif. So Be'etzim, the HAFTORAH of Perek Lamed Daled, if you look at the end, it speaks about what Yirmiyah is giving Musa to Klal Yisrael, and there's going to be a Churban Abayis. That's how it ends. Ves Are Yehuda Etin Shemama Me'ein Yoshev. It's not a Dover Toif. Memela Zokt Avud Raham, you should end off with two psukim afterwards, Bedover Toif. The Shaila is, it's Mavur and Mesechtes Megillah, and it's brought like that, La Halacha, that you cannot read Lemafreya. You can't read Lemafreya. This is the only time ever that it's Lemafreya, but you can't read Lemafreya. It's a Dina de Hashas, and it's Kapaskan Allah and Shulchan Aruch. So if you take a look, it's Perek Lamed Daled, and then afterwards we go back to Perek Lamed Gimel. L'chayr, it's Keneged. How could you say these two psukim? Now, Vudram says, we say these two psukim. The Bais Yosef says, not over here, in a different places, the Bais Yosef says you could rely on the Avud Raham because he's a Baki behind INYANIM in Kriyas HaTorah and HAFTORAHs. But upon him, how could you lay in these two psukim afterwards? It's Lemafreya, it's going back. So the first teretz, the Kesef Mishnah answers that this that you can't go Lemafreya is only from one sefer to another sefer. However, if it's in the same sefer, you could go Lemafreya. Over here, it's in the same sefer. In Yirmiyah, you could. The Rashash says the same thing in Yuma. The Rashash says this Yesoid, that Lemafreya is only Aser when it's in a different Navi. And the Meleis, and he says, Varaya Taka from HAFTORAH of Mishpatim, this HAFTORAH. Some ask on this, that from Tosus and Yuma it's mashma that even in the same sefer, the same to say in Yirmiyah also you can't call them Afreya. So it'll still be schwer. Of them the Svasemis answers that but Oisei Sefer you can't call them Afreya, but if it's close by you could. it's a whole schmooze. What's the reason why lemafreya and why a medalgin, b'chlal, even skipping the other way around? You can't be medalig m'sefer l'sefer when it's far. Tirchad Chaburah. The Pri Megadim says that if it's be'inyan echad, then you could. If it's be'inyan echad. The kasha is, they be'etzim ask on the Pri Megadim, it's not be'inyan echad. How does this koyam ar Hashem, loy berisi yoyim v'alaylo, chukas shamayim, v'oretz loy samti? Why, how does this come in, b'chlal? This is not MINYANIM. Before the HAFTORAH, what's the connection of this week's HAFTORAH to the Parsha? Every HAFTORAH has a connection. What's the connection? Yirmiyah was giving Musa to Klal Yisrael and saying that the Chaburah is going to come because Klal Yisrael is not being nizar on Shiluach Avodim. The Chaburah is going to come because of not being nizar of Shiluach Avodim, which this week's Parsha in the beginning speaks about Shiluach Avodim. Good. So that's the connection to the Parsha. How did these psukim come in? What's the connection? So one teretz is that you could. It is negeya. It's still negeya. It's still even though lemafreya you can't here. It's not nichlal lemafreya. It's close by the same sefer. Fine. L'maisen Magen Avram. And he brings that from the Goyis Maimonides holds that even you can never go lemafreya. Never you can never go lemafreya. So what's pshat? How could we read these psukim? So the emphasis taka the Shari Ephraim. We're bakant with the Shari Ephraim and Hilchas Kriyas HaTorah. The Shari Ephraim taka says not to read these psukim of Perek Lamed Gimel because it's taka lemafreya. So what taka should you do? You know, you can't be Messiah b'davar toiv. You're supposed to be Messiah b'davar toiv. So Reb Chaim Kanevsky in Time of the Crow brings the Rambam. The Rambam says after Perek Lamed Daled to continue on to Perek Lamed Hey. Perek Lamed Hey. The emissaries that Reb David Feinstein brings from his father, Ramosha says the same takat to do like that lamaisa. You don't have to. He says you don't have to. Not the whole Perek Lamed Hey, 2 psukim. The Yud Zayin, Yud Chet, which psukim? But I'll come up. You don't the whole Lamed Hey, but a taka not going backwards, continuing on after Lamed Dal, Lamed Hey. Whatever they're going to do in your shul, but at least you'll be educated. You'll know if they do Lamed Gimel, it's lemafreya. The Mavud Ram says to go lemafreya. If they're going to be noyig, they could do Lamed Hey. Others say taka, you can't go lemafreya. But the Chaim Kanevsky brings from the Stipler, not on Time of the Cross. They bring in Archas Rabbi and other places that Lamaisa, even though it's a kasha from the Gemara Megillah and from the Halacha that you can't go lemafreya, Lamaisa is kosher l'shanas haminig. Kosher l'shanas haminig. If the minig is, and the minig is to go back to Lamed Gimel, you go back. There's another teretz. I'll pee what's before in the Trumas Adeshin. That the whole reason why you can't go backwards is tiruf is only by klaf. If you have chomoshim and you could stick in, you could put something in, you could put in a paper, a sticky note, you could there's a way how to go there without being magalgal and turning. Over there it's not a problem. So this would talk to be a yishuv for the places that don't lane from a klaf, from a chumash. So mainly the din that you're not supposed to lane lemafreya is not applicable. It's the gay in other places also, b'chlal medalgin in the HAFTORAH of Shabbos Shuvah. It's not the inkan laharach, but the concept he says is that b'mokum when you just turn the chumash, it's not a klaf being goylol. If you have to turn back and forth, you could turn mamash pages and pages, and one turn you can move over. It's beseder. What'd you say? You can, the emphasis over here it's printed regardless. But I'm saying even if you're reading from a printed Tanakh, or you have to be goylol, you could stick in get right there. As opposed to klaf, you have to turn, be goylol. On the note of the HAFTORAH being an HAFTORAH that's not common, it's before an Orchos Chaim. That's a Talmud of the Rosh. Ba'akdama, that you have to know that Barbanel says it's before like that in the Chinuch. The Chinuch has the Parshas split up different than what we have. One Parsha. Nitzavim Vayelech has one Parsha, but how does he have our Parshas? How does he have the same account? He's off by a week. Parshas MISHPATIM is split into two. And Kesef Talva is another Parsha. Zok the Orchos Chaim, even though these are klal, that when these two parshas together, I don't know if Pshat was always together, that I don't know, but when these two parshas together, which HAFTORAH do you lane? The second HAFTORAH, with an exception of Achrei Kedoshim, but you read the second HAFTORAH. Here, you're going to lane the first HAFTORAH, with this HAFTORAH. Why? First of all, he says in that HAFTORAH is included also in Kesef Talva, but he says the reason why we want to lane this HAFTORAH because it's HAFTORAH Scheiner Tadira. It's not frequent. The same Yisrael like we said before. Just to conclude with a takeaway from the HAFTORAH speaks about the mitzvah of Shiluach Avadim. The Navi says, few psukim in, Koyamar Hashem Elokei Yisrael, Anoichi Karati Brisas Aveseichem, of Shiluach Avadim, but when? B'yoim Hoitzii Oisa Me'eretz Mitzrayim. When was I mitzaveh Shiluach Avadim? On the day of Yetzias Mitzrayim. Stellt sich the Shaila, why was it so important when Klal Yisrael was leaving? Mitzrayim was sending us out, running out, B'tzeikom, Lahispik B'tzeikom, we were rushing out. Stop, Moshe Rabbeinu made an announcement, Rabbi said, the Eibush is giving the mitzvah of Shiluach Avadim. Why was it so important right then? V'oid, B'chlal, the mitzvah wasn't noyig, anyways, till way later, till they went into Eretz Yisrael, was manche Yovel noyig. V'oid, Stamazai, like all other mitzvahs, but Matan Torah, what was it so important to give it right away? Dr. Chaim Shmulevitz, and it's a Yesod Gadol. Be'etzem, when a person has an Eved, he has a hard time understanding what the Eved's going through. He's comfortable. He has somebody that's a servant. He doesn't know what the Eved's going through. It's so hard for him to understand that Pshat is that Be'etzim, you can't even expect from the Adon to be Mechayiv and to let the Eved out. He doesn't understand. He's not connected. He's living a different lifestyle. He doesn't know. Zogt Reb Chaim Shmulevitz, the only way that Klal Yisrael would be able to get this mitzvah is dafka the day they were going out of Mitzrayim. Up until now, they were Avadim. Now they went out of Avdus. Only now is when they can relate what an Eved's about and the mitzvah of being Meshacher and Eved. At Kedei Kach, if we would have been another 49 days later by Kabbalah Satira, they would have already forgotten. But Oifir, he says, a person, it's only during the time that he's inspired, the inspiration, a person has to bottle it in. However, whatever you do, a person can make a Kabbalah. If a person thinks that when he's inspired it's going to last, it's not going to last. Over here, Klor, when they went out of Mitzrayim, what's half of a fellow, they were Avodim Gemurim in Mitzrayim. The territories of the Eibishter wouldn't have been Mitzavah beyond the day of Yetzias Mitzrayim. By Matan Torah would have been too late. They would have forgotten already what it is to be an Eved. I remember during the days of COVID, somebody told me that he's writing down a few ha'aris, what takeaway they should be showed by matzal that kufa, certain hisoiris that he had. And I remember he told me, this is going to pass, and it's going to be forgotten b'chlal. Like, what's the takeaway? What is the limud? What does the Eibishter want? Everybody had during COVID different things. Whatever the limud was, Al Kapanim, the limud is from this HAFTORAH that's not common, that the Eibishter had to be Metzava, Klal Yisrael, the mitzvah of Shiluach Avodim, mamash, right when they were leaving Mitzrayim. It wasn't able to wait to Matan Torah. When they left Mitzrayim, they knew what it means to be an Eved, and now they're B'nai Chayrim, they could relate to this Din HaTorah of Shiluach Avodim. We should be Zoicha to the Emes HaCheres, B'vias Goyal Tzedek.